Today we have real willpower in the room. We have George Will with us, and we're very grateful for that. But the hatred of the Jew is the fear of the other, the dislike of the unlike. And the Jewish people have been that nation in history that have stood up for the dignity of difference, for the right to be different. And by doing that, set an example for the world that while there's one God in heaven loves diversity on earth, and we should cherish, respect, and honor differences, never fear it or dislike it. And so it's a great honor to welcome George Will, and it's my honor to introduce the sponsor of this forum, Mr. Paul Levy.
Only 19% of American colleges and universities require the teaching of American history. So the challenges facing American education are really deep. They are far deeper, I believe, than what we're reading in the newspapers. That's bad enough, but down the rot is into the foundation. So, God willing, things will improve in time, but until the problem is identified, it will not be cured. So I leave that with you. Thank you again for coming. And let me introduce Michael Polyakov, who has been my partner in putting all of this together, without whom it wouldn't happen.
So it is now my honor to introduce Dr. George Will. The Wall Street Journal called him perhaps the most powerful journalist in America. I respectfully wish to correct the Wall Street Journal by removing the word perhaps. He is the most powerful journalist in America. Please welcome George Will.
Being the most powerful journalist in America is a little bit like being the tallest building in Topeka. I don't want to live in a country with powerful journalists. I support Israel because Israel is a salient of our values, and our values are the values of the Enlightenment, of which the Jewish people have been disproportionate carriers and advancers. What we are witnessing now in the United States, and especially on campuses where the Enlightenment should be most cherished, is a large-scale aggressive repudiation of the Enlightenment itself. The ancients approached politics by saying, let's envision the ideal and pursue it. The moderns, chastened by history, say, let's envision the worst and avoid it. After the 20th century, that seems like a sensible and prudent way to go. Government is going to stay neutral about the question of man's relationship to God. Now, I should say, I am not a person of faith. I am an amiable, low-voltage atheist. I don't want to convert anybody. I'm married to a ferocious Presbyterian. But I agree with Thomas Jefferson, who said, our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions, any more than on our opinions about physics or geometry. Today, in the name of progress, we are being urged to progress up from the founders, up from and away from the Enlightenment. Those who would make the culture shape the right kind of person want to control whatever is said and written, whatever is thought and taught. What you wind up is either something very like Cambodia in the 1970s or Harvard in 2024. It's an astonishing thing to see people who are brittle and proud of being brittle. I don't know how this came about. It has something to do, I think, with whatever caused the noun parent to become a verb. We used to be parents, now we parent. And that suggests that there's a science of parenting, and if you do it just right, your children will all turn out wonderfully. No one who's had one or more children believes that nonsense still. What has become dangerous now is that politics has become a religion. It has become the center of life for so many people. Now we see in a comprehensive way today in this rebellion against the Enlightenment, against the idea of excellence, the idea that people should be free to rise. The problem is that the rising cream is today denounced as meritocracy. Think of this. We are now witnessing all across America an argument against the recognition of merit. The argument goes that all differences between people are either accidents of birth and therefore deserving no respect. How a society is going to produce brain surgeons and the kind of scientific energy that a vital economy needs and our national security depends upon, if we are going to stigmatize excellence as an unjust reflection of merit, I do not know. Speaking of Harvard, as I am loath to do, now we've seen at Harvard, and not just at Harvard, but most dramatically at Harvard, the eruption of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is the most, in a millennium of ideologies, it may be the most successful because it is the most durable. Thousands of schools are now teaching the New York Times curriculum. The New York Times, having perfected journalism, looking for something else to do, decided to reframe American history with the 1619 Project, which teaches that systemic racism is A, permanent, B, as bad as ever, and C, the defining characteristic of America. Hitler hated the Jews not because they were the other, because they represented the ethical. Hitler's view of the world, the perfect antithesis of the Enlightenment, was that biological, racial identities are everything, the individual nothing. Hitler knew that the Jews were the enemy of his biological view of the world. Washington Mall suggests American history of rationality and purpose. It was good to have the Holocaust Museum adjacent to it to be the dark sun into which Americans and everyone else needs to be taught to stare, because the lesson of that museum is anything is possible because nothing is unthinkable. Something we need to be taught again and again and again, as we were reminded on October 7th. What we are witnessing today, what some of us spend a lot of time resisting, is the overthrow of the Enlightenment, the reestablishment of groupthink, group categories, the submergence of the individual, and to understand the stakes of what is being argued about on American campuses today. It has been shocking, but shocks can wake us up. Let's not lose the fight now. Thank you very much.